Live and direct, live on set, coming from your phone and television and computer. It's Full Court Bresh. We're back for another update on what's going on in the world of basketball and sports. I'm your host, Dillan Grant, along with my co-host, Marc Gwynn. Marc, say what's up.
Sir, what's happening?
What's going on? Where do we start? Nice shave, by the way.
Yeah,
glad to see you
I
shave.
finally cleaned it up. Look like a completely different fucking person. It's been a while since I've been able to see my fucking chin, but it's not bad, man.
Same with my beloved wife.
Damn.
I haven't seen her chin in a minute.
Damn, son.
Okay.
All right. So things are. Each series is 2-1. So the Nuggets just won last night. So it's 2-1 for them. As we're recording this, Celtics Heat play game 4 tonight. Heat are up 2-1. A couple things. We'll start with the Lakers Nuggets. That game 2, that final shot in game 2.
Okay, let's talk about Plumlee. Let's talk about it.
First off, let me not be too salty because it was a great shot. I wasn't sure Anthony Davis was gonna hit it because he hasn't exactly shown up for the big moments lately. Like, he's been good, but he hasn't been what we expected, I guess. But it was a great shot. Great shot, great play.
Great.
No.
A great shot. It was fucking biblical. That shot was massive.
Are you still going to be saying that when y'all trick off the series?
Yeah, it might happen. I thought after how hard Denver fought back in that game and still lost with that, I thought it was going to be a sweep for the Lakers after that. But until last night, obviously. But great fucking read by Rondo. Rondo wasn't even in the game. He said, Vogel, put me in for the pass. Puts him in. Fucking Plumlee gets lost. I want to say on a screen, but it wasn't a fucking screen. LeBron wasn't even looking at him. LeBron was looking the other way. And then I think Jeremy Grant was guarding LeBron. He had no idea that Davis was even open because Plumlee didn't say anything.
Fuck, man. Speaking of noticeable chins, talk about Plumlee. Quick sidebar. Again,
just a terrible,
proper basketball
terrible
funeral fashion. R.I.P. to the Clippers. Got my Kawhi on today to pay respects to the deceased. But yeah, the chin, the face neck, Plumlee. Here's the issue. So he comes off the top. He's checking Davis. Jokic is checking the inbounder. And so Jokic obviously isn't the most mobile big in the world, even with the weight that he lost. So you can't realistically expect him to come and cover who else. And you can't just leave the inbounder open because it had 2 seconds. That's a lot of time. So they could kick it to whoever and then say the inbounder is just down on the low block. You can just kick it back to him for a quick layup if that passing lane is open. So he can't just leave the inbounder no matter who it is. And with Davis, he's coming off a screen up top because that's one of the most obvious, eye inbound plays or whatever. Like whether it's a punch, whether it's, check downs or whatever it is. There's always going to be a screen up top. So there's always going to open it up for somebody on the perimeter, whether that be Davis or LeBron or whatever. LeBron gives him a little pin down off that elbow, off the left elbow, and opens it up, and Plumlee just stops. As if he knew that Jokic was just going to come over and recover. It was ridiculous.
But you're explaining it as if there was a screen set. There was no screen set.
I guess.
LeBron was just standing there. LeBron didn't even know what was going on, I don't think. I think the play was originally for LeBron, and then Davis just said, fuck this, I'm going to go try to get open, and he did. And to Jokic's credit, even though that wasn't his man, he did get out on Davis a little bit, but it was just a little too late.
He closed out to the best of his ability, but that was
give him credit.
Trying to wipe the ass of a bad defensive player. That's all it was. That's not his fault. I don't think anybody's blaming him for it, but he shouldn't have to come and recover for a team. Plumlee should have. If it was a screen, he should have fought through it. If it's not a screen, then it should be that much easier to fight through it, get over it, and stay with Davis. It's 2 guys on the floor that you absolutely have to stay with on that last shot. Davis and LeBron. Yeah, those are the 2 guys. The other guys, it's like we can gap a little bit. We can help and kind of cheat the defense a little bit, but we still got to close out.
You can live with fucking Danny Green making that shot. This is what that would look like.
This ought to be good. You got to get the run down, man. You got to get the form down with the T-Rex elbow.
More arms.
But I'm saying you just can't make that fucking mistake, especially in a playoff situation. It's just no excuse. It's like LeBron almost bailed you out with almost a half-ass no-effort screen or whatever it was. I'm calling it a makeshift pin down because it was about as effective as a pin down could be. It was effective.
But if that's what, but if that's the case, then it's not Plumlee's fault. Jeremy's got to switch. You're switching everything on an inbound, especially at the buzzer. So if that's the case, if you're saying that was a screen or pin down, then it's not even Plumlee's fault.
But here's the thing. Okay, yes, Jeremy Grant was wrong in that situation too, but a couple things. Jeremy Grant's probably looking at it as I can't leave LeBron because as soon as that space opens up, he's probably thinking, oh, Rondo's going to see LeBron open, kick it to him, and it's an even easier shot than Davis. At the same time, if he switches to close out, Plumlee should have been the one. He's got to commit to either go over or under. He's got to go over or under the screen, and if he needs to switch, call for a switch or get a catch edge, something has to happen there. They can't just stop and just assume, well, Jokic will come over and get it. You can't do that.
Yeah.
This isn't fucking January, man.
No. You got to communicate. That's from a school of fish to a championship team. You got to communicate.
Right.
Homeless people even communicate.
So Lakers go up 2-0 with that.
Right.
Even in game one, when it was a blowout most of the way, the Nuggets fought their way back as they've been doing.
Okay, yeah, let's recap that because we haven't even talked about the Clippers getting bounced yet.
Right.
The last podcast we did last Tuesday was Game 7 of that.
Right.
So let's go all the way back.
I mean, it's pretty easy to sum it up. The Nuggets have been playing the way they've been playing. They have an identity. They have a core. They have chemistry, and the Clippers had none of that. It was Kawhi, Paul George, and a bunch of dudes who didn't experience anything together or didn't know well enough what the actual team identity was. It was just Doc Rivers saying, get Kawhi the ball, and everybody else find something to do. It's like, I don't think Doc is a bad coach.
He's not a bad coach.
Don't think he coached particularly well with this news. It's weird because he had the 08 Celtics where, I mean, it's a little different because you had Paul Pierce and you still had somewhat of a core intact of a team building around him, even though you're bringing in Ray Allen and Garnett. So there was some chemistry there, and those guys just got it right away because they've been through some shit too. They've been on deep playoff runs, shy of a championship. So it was a lot more leadership and a lot more veteran camaraderie and chemistry and stuff like that. With the Clippers, there's just like a bunch of really, really good, like really solid role players and a team that looks great on paper, but it just never translated into any sort of resolution. You had that sense of assurance with Kawhi where it was like if he's got the ball, he's going to get a bucket and he's going to get a stop on the other end. It's Kawhi. He's the best player in the world.
Well, I think everyone just got overzealous. Like the Clippers are going to win or at least go to the finals.
They got too comfortable.
On a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Way too comfortable. And then obviously you had PG struggling early in the playoffs. He kind of turned that around a bit for sure. But I think they just didn't get it going cohesively as a unit the way they should have, the way everyone expected. So now it's looked at as a giant loss on the season. Yeah,
and the fact that Paul George, as much as I love the guy, the fact that he backpedaled and said that it wasn't a championship or bust season, it can't be anything shy of that. It was absolutely a championship or bust season, and you're making excuses. I mean, come on, man. Like, what the fuck? Why would you guys be on the phone secretly negotiating trades with? Like, why would y'all be doing all that and giving up all these draft picks and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and all these different core pieces to bring these two guys in? That's not to get bounced out of the second round. The fuck are you talking about?
Excuse. Just making excuses.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, that kind of raises concerns.
Bye Clippers.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I'm glad they're out.
Okay, so let's get back to the return of the Thuggets. Let's get back to the return of the Thuggets.
Okay, so game 1. Lakers Thuggets.
Yep.
Lakers looked pretty fucking unstoppable. They looked pretty fucking unstoppable. And for the first time, I think in the playoffs, personally, I saw some fear or nervousness in Denver by the end of that game. I thought it was going to be a very bad series for them after that game one.
Well, they were immediately taking advantage of mismatches, right? Like, Denver has, again, they're a really good defense without being a great defense, but they have these tools that they have combinations of guys that they can throw at LeBron and Davis, particularly their forwards. You've got OG Paul Millsap, who can take turns guarding either one of those guys. You got Jeremy Grant, who, by the way, has done really well this series. And
Porter steps up.
Jokic will give you some possessions on Anthony Davis when he's on those low post touches or whatever it is. At least, will do enough. And Plumlee, while I don't love Plumlee, and while that game 2 play was inexcusable, not just from him but from everybody, but he is a solid defender. He's a solid defensive big, so he's another guy that if he's on Davis on a low block touch, it's not the end of the world. You feel like he'll at least do his job, and you'll live with Davis making some shots over him anyway. The Lakers just executed and were able to create mismatches off screens, and were able to move the ball well. We're knocking down shots, and Denver just wasn't.
Fast
They just
break.
ran into a wall.
Lakers on the fast break are scary as fuck.
Oh yeah, but that transition
Scary
should
as
be
fuck.
because the whole year they were one of the better defensive teams in the league, and defense creates transition. And you've got all these athletic guys, all these guys that are able to knock down corner jumpers or whatever it is, or are supposed to be able to knock down corner jumpers, and
Fucking Danny
and
Green.
finishers. You should be a great transition team, and they definitely were in game one.
Yeah, Rondo played really good in game one. Obviously, LeBron played amazing. AD played pretty good. Still not his best, but pretty good. He had a lot of points. But the one thing I will say with that game, even though I'm a diehard Lakers fan, the reffing did not seem fair.
You mean how
I think
Anthony
in the
Davis has been living at the free throw line this whole series so far?
First half of that game, the Lakers had 23 attempts at the free throw line to Denver's 4. That is probably... Now, are the Lakers incredible? Absolutely, they're incredible. They don't make mistakes very often, but 4 free throw attempts is fucking abysmal when you're giving the other team 23. That didn't seem right. Are they doing it for Kobe? I don't know. I'm not Columbo.
I'll say this. It's easy to say if you're not watching the game or you're not really paying attention, you're just a highlight fan or whatever it is. The easy take is LeBron's getting all the calls, blah, blah, blah. He really hasn't been getting to the free throw line. That's the weird thing about it. It's been Davis has been getting a lot of the free throws, and it's been spread out between the rest of the team. But LeBron really hasn't been getting to the stripe that much.
He's not as aggressive as he should be.
No,
He had glimpses.
but I'm saying, like, looking at the typical fan side of it, they're gonna assume that LeBron's getting all the ticky tack fouls and all this shit, and he's not even getting that.
It's collectively, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a team thing.
I mean, he is playing well, but
He's playing well. I don't think he's as aggressive as he should be,
Yeah.
but he has glimpses where he is, and then he kind of just sits there. I don't know why or what that's about.
also
but
I think Denver's just done a really good job defensively against them.
they've done exceptional.
Jeremy Grant has been on fucking point, man.
Offensively and defensively. Let's talk about Game 3 where
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant really shined. And the rest of the Nuggets bench. It looked like to me going into this game, the Denver bench looked at each other and said, or after that, I guess the buzzer beater in Game 2, the game, I don't know what the bench happened with Mike Malone on the bench, but they kind of looked at each other and said, all right, Jamal and fucking Jokic have done everything to get us here. We've done fuck all, so let's fucking help them out. And Game 3 was only a win for the Nuggets because of their incredible bench finally showing up, and give them all the credit there. That they did incredible.
Here's the thing that's key for the Nuggets. Obviously, they've been the back against the wall, guys who have fought back from these deficits throughout this entire playoff run. I mean, they did it against the Jazz,
Right.
they did it against the Clippers, they're doing it against the Lakers now. Even in Game 1, it was a blowout and whatever. The Lakers were in control the whole time, but the Nuggets still fought their way back and made it respectable by the end. And I know it was benches were coming in or whatever, but that still plays into their favor because it shows that they're not just waving the white flag after Game 1, even if they're down by 30 or whatever the fuck it was.
No, they never
They
do.
still
Yeah,
fight
yeah.
back, and that's why that 2-0 lead isn't safe. I mean, game 2, it was close. They had to win it off a buzzer beater, and Anthony Davis, it was a great play on the Lakers' part. I'm not taking anything away, but Davis got open off a bad rotation, and it could just be one of those little things.
Not a
that
bad
can cost the
rotation.
game.
No rotation.
Yeah,
There was zero rotation
Yeah.
in that defensive set. I don't know what happened. I don't know where the breakdown was. Everyone wants to blame Plumlee, even myself, but I don't know if it was entirely his fault.
yeah, he's not the only one.
I feel like they went into it saying switch everything, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta switch. LeBron's in my way," and then just nothing happened. So, yeah, kudos to Lakers for making that fucking shot.
Yeah.
Jamal obviously put the nail in the fucking coffin in Game 3. He fucked in those last couple minutes, and does not look scared of LeBron at all. Even gave him a little pow right in the kisser at one point with his elbow.
Yeah.
Got the flagrant one.
Okay. Yeah, and Game 3, it was a lot of the same thing, except because the Nuggets were able to keep it close. Once they took the lead and had the momentum, they kept it under their control because they're too resilient. So if they're able to do that, I mean, I still think Denver's going to win the series. I won't be shocked if the Lakers win, obviously, but I think it's because of that. Because if the Lakers attack early and often, take advantage of mismatch, play like they did in Game 1, and are just on point the whole way out and get off to a big lead, then they'll be able to do enough to protect it. Then I like their chances. But with the Nuggets, if they're able to take momentum, like they take momentum even when they're losing, and that's what a winning team does. Ironically, if Denver is able to get off to a lead or just keep it close throughout the major stretch of the game, then they're going to take control in the fourth quarter, and I like their chances of winning. And because of that, I like their chances to win the series. Just being honest.
That's a good point. That's a great take. But my fear is for Denver, they don't get out ahead too often.
Right.
And I know you're saying, yeah, they're a team that can obviously come back from pretty much any deficit at this point, but I don't like their odds on getting ahead. I know it happened last night, but that doesn't happen too often. And as long as AD and Kobe, as long as AD and LeBron are fucking playing the way they should be, I think this series compared to the Clippers series should be hard for them to come back. Like LeBron and AD should be getting 35 each.
The Nuggets have gotten a lot better defensively, man, in their game planning. And they're executing.
They've been great.
Gotta give credit where it's due. Okay, let's.
So let's wrap that game up. Big contributions from the Nuggets bench to help solidify why the Nuggets should be here in the first place. I'm excited for Game 4. And this might be a longer series than I thought.
It's return of the Thuggets, man. I love it because it makes me think back to 2009 when it was Kobe and Melo. But, it's return of the Thuggets. Okay, let's really quickly touch on Celtics Heat and where we're at with it. Pretty much what we expected for the most part. The only thing for me is that Jimmy Butler, everybody on the Heat's playing well, and Jimmy's playing well, and he's finishing game. He's kind of doing the exact opposite of Anthony Davis, where Davis is playing really well for the first 3 quarters and then kind of pedestrian for the fourth, and still might do enough for them to win. But Jimmy is kind of playing pedestrian for the first 3 quarters and then shows up in these big moments and delivers these big plays, whether it be a dagger shot or moving the ball the right way or getting a defensive stop, which is great. That's all well and good because, I mean, if you take one over the other, you're obviously taking the latter. But with Jimmy, with these Celtics, they have too much firepower that if they get hot at any moment, we saw it in the Toronto series where we were just playing catch-up the rest of the way because they just started getting hot. And we would have to fight back in these fourth quarters, and it'd be these close, stressful games. Miami can't afford that because the Celtics have this momentum now where, they're down 2-1. They're in a hole. They're more desperate, so based on that and based on how momentum goes, they're kind of in favor to take Game 4. And if they do that, then that sets the tone for the rest of the series. Miami has to keep the foot on their throats, so to speak. That might be important.
I see where you're coming from, but
because they didn't do it against Milwaukee, and that's why they didn't sweep them.
So you're saying Jimmy has to kill the entire game?
I think so.
Well, I think this is a test to his growth as a player, though, because usually old Jimmy would just be out for himself from start to finish, and if the game was close enough, he's able to close it out. Where now he's actually trusting his teammates for once in his entire life to make shots, and they have done it up until the game the other night. So I think it is a good thing that he's sitting back a little bit, but maybe it's just a little too much at this point. But he is the guy you want going off in the fourth quarter.
That's the thing. I don't want to be too critical because he's fucking delivering. Like, he keeps delivering when you need him the most. I just think for the Heat to win this series, they've got to attack early enough. They've got to be a bit more. They got to be merciless. And I think they will. I think they will based on what they went through in the Milwaukee series, and they're going to understand, okay, these guys might be even more dangerous offensively and have more weapons, and they're much more composed. So if the Celtics have an opportunity to eke their way back into the series and make it interesting again, they have a much better chance of actually taking over and winning the series than Milwaukee did. Miami can't afford to take that chance. They got to go for the throw.
So I think it's 2-1 because the Heat have been obviously so hot shooting-wise the entire playoffs. And I think the other night was the first time they just shot kind of average. So they're a team where if they're missing shots, they can still be competitive, but they're not going to be dominant by any means if they're missing threes. And I think Duncan Robinson went off in game 2 and hit like 6 threes. And then as far as everyone else, like Dragic is playing well, but yeah, I think you're right.
Kemba is the key for the Celtics, and Miami has to keep him out of it. When Kemba plays well, the Celtics win games. I mean, when Tatum plays well, they win more often than not. But you can deal with Tatum playing well, him and or Brown playing well. But if you're able to keep Kemba out of it and keep everybody else relatively in check, you got a much better chance of winning those games. Because the Celtics get kind of out of sorts when Kemba doesn't play well.
Absolutely. And the Celtics always have great defense, but I think they win when they facilitate the ball better and stop settling for isolation bullshit and bad shots. They facilitated the ball in game 3 better than I've seen them do it arguably all year.
Yeah, Gordon Hayward will help that.
And Gordon Hayward, big playmaker.
Yeah.
Big fucking playmaker for them. That might change the series. Might turn it around if they can stop doing Jaylen Brown, Tatum, smart isolation takes to the basket every other play. They got to keep moving that ball.
Okay, so let's, as it stands right now, what do we think happens with both series?
I think the Heat and Celtics go 7 games. And I think the Heat edge it from their hot shooting. I think they're going to stay a little hot. For the West, I'm going Lakers in 6.
6? Okay.
Yeah.
I can respect that.
But Dwight Howard's got to fucking sharpen up. Dwight Howard's starting to follow Danny Green in that last game. He had one of his emotional moments. I don't know what the fuck he was doing the whole game. But Dwight was a liability last night. And it showed in the scoreboard.
He's thinking too much about 09, man.
Absolutely.
In the wrong way. He's not using it as motivation. He's just letting it bother him, and it's becoming a distraction. That's my assumption. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the guy's best fucking friend or his therapist, so I have no idea. But
or his butt. Go ahead.
I think the Nuggets are gonna win this series, but I won't be shocked either way. It might take 7, and I think the Heat are winning it in 6.
Woo.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on the Heat. Disagree with Denver though. I just think it's gonna come down to that vet leadership and that experience. That's it. So I think Denver's 2 years away from possibly doing it.
I get it. I completely understand, and I will understandably admit if I'm wrong when that time comes. But don't underestimate the leadership of OG Paul Millsap.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
And Mike Malone. Mike Malone, Coach of the Year. You heard it here first.
Well, I mean, let's not pretend Nick Nurse doesn't exist, but Mike Malone has been excellent.
Mike Malone, Coach
I'll
of the
say
Year.
most improved coach. How about that? All right. On that note, I guess we should probably fuck off stage left, huh?
Fuck off stage left. Subscribe to Bresh Crew TV on all platforms. Listen to our other podcast every Friday and this one every Tuesday, you motherfuckers.
You motherfucker.
And we're going to sign us off with me running like Danny Green. All right, you can sign them out. I'm just going to run around.
All right, y'all. Once again, Full Court Bresh every week. Check out the Bresh Crew podcast every week that and all the other nonsense we're doing, and enjoy doing a terrible impression of Danny Green. Looks like he's grocery shopping. But all right, appreciate y'all, man. Eat a dick and have a good one.